The California wildfires have been devastating Los Angeles, destroying homes and people's lives. The climate lobby would have you believe that climate change is to blame, and that we need sweeping Green New Deal type energy policies to prevent these wildfires from happening. But that's not true. They're right that these fires could have been less severe or avoided altogether, but not with their radical climate policies that actually contribute to the severity of these fires in the first place.
That's the show, damn it!
What's going on, ladies and gentlemen? Assuming nothing's changed since last time and I can still call you that. So I got to follow up on the California wildfire story, an absolutely devastating situation. My thoughts and prayers go out to all the victims and their families, everybody that was affected in any way, shape, or form out in California. And I want to say that, of course, I know that wildfires happen just kind of naturally. It is what it is. I'm way out here in Maryland. There's been wildfires out here before. I remember there was one in Laurel, pretty big one, not too long ago. So wildfires do happen. However, there are obviously things and clearly things that can be done to mitigate the damage caused by wildfires. Really, there's something that can be done just about to mitigate damage caused by just about any natural disaster. There's something that can be done to mitigate the damage. Now, obviously, there are some times where natural disasters just are going to win. That's why they're called natural disasters. There's nothing you can do about it, right? And California seems to be on the opposite end of doing the right things to mitigate the damage from something that occurs regularly. So without any further ado, let's look at some possible reasons why the California wildfires was as devastating as it was.
Here are 3 failures that led to the LA wildfires. First, forest management, or in this case, mismanagement. To prevent wildfires, California and Los Angeles Forest Management should have been facilitating more controlled burns, also called prescribed burns. That's right, you have to create small, controlled fires to prevent large, uncontrollable ones. This might sound counterintuitive, but it's actually standard practice for forest management. Controlled burns clear the brushwood that otherwise functions as fuel, leading to the catastrophic fires we're witnessing in LA that are nearly impossible to stop. Leftist climate activists have spent decades successfully lobbying to prevent forest management techniques like underbrush removal and controlled burns, in the name of protecting the natural habitats of certain animals and protecting the air from pollutants. The result? Devastating wildfires that destroy vastly greater amounts of natural habitats and grow to burn other structures that release far more harmful pollutants, not to mention the destruction of people's livelihoods.
There goes the strike.
That's crazy. So all the climate activists who believe that animals are people too, and that they need to keep the habitats all perfectly clear and fine and all that, really they're partially to blame for this. They wanted to stop the controlled burns, but the controlled burns is a way to save lives, to save human lives. Way to go, climate activists. You really done it this time.
Structure. Oh, look at it collapse. There it goes.
Second, a failure of leadership. At every level of California government, officials have demonstrated that their priorities are entirely out of order. One example, about 20% of fire hydrants in the Palisades area of Los Angeles, where wildfires were the worst, ran out of water. Local officials say the fires were simply too massive for what their infrastructure was prepared for. But had California taken...
That's just baffling to me. They ran out of water. 20%. I mean, 20% isn't, that's not all of them. All right. But 20% is a lot. That's a significant amount, especially when you're truly fighting a fire. How does that happen?
The fires were simply too massive for what their infrastructure was prepared for. But had California taken its land management seriously, the fires likely would not have grown to such a catastrophic magnitude in the first place. And finally, DEI. The lack of qualified personnel within LA County Public Services is staggering.
Now, this the one right here, because honestly, and I'm going to say this like I said in the last video, personally speaking, I couldn't care less what race or gender, whatever the person is that's coming to fight the fire, if they are skilled and competent enough to fight the fire. Okay. But I think that there's an issue in certain professions in particular, and really in any profession, in my opinion, but in certain professions in particular, where there's more of a focus on the outlook of diversity than on the skill set and the core competencies that are necessary to complete that task, or that are necessary to do that job and do that job well. And we're seeing it all over the place. Now it's in the fire department. We've seen it in police departments. We saw it with the FBI. I think they had like all-woman FBI platoon, and I mean they embarrassed themselves, right? And again, is there anything wrong with that? No. Is there anything wrong with the all-woman brigade? Of course not. If they're competent and can do the job. So we shouldn't focus on DEI. We should just have people that are good enough to do the job. And if they happen to tick the box, also great. Then we can also celebrate that. Like take head coach Marcus Freeman out of Notre Dame. All right. A man who is part black and part Asian. And when he was presented with the opportunity to take the race card and acknowledge the fact that he's the first black head coach to coach in the national title game, he chose the high road and said, you know what? It's not about my skin color. It's about my skill set. And really, that's exactly what it should be. Martin Luther King said himself that he has a dream that one day a man will be judged not by the color of their skin, but by the content of their character, by what they can bring to the table, by what skill sets they have. And so rather than hiring people because they're women or because they're LGBT or because they're trans or because they believe they're a lampshade or because they're openly a Zim or whatever those things are, whatever Dr. Seuss character they want to call themselves today, getting somebody in those positions just for that reason is wrong as two left feet. Also something that would probably happen on Dr. Seuss. Anyway, but DEI, I'm all right. I'm off that soapbox when it comes to DEI for right now. Let's hear what the brother got to say.
In 2023, California's Fire Foundry program set out to explicitly reduce the number of white men that made up their firefighting force, prioritizing
Ridiculous. They want to intentionally lower the number of white men in the fire department. To do what exactly?
Meaningless skin color diversity over qualification to fight fires. The Los Angeles Department of Water and Power boasts that they are leading their work with equity. Yanis Quiñones, the first Spanish-speaking and Latina CEO and chief engineer of the LA Department of Water and Power, said that equity was, quote, the number one thing that attracted me to this role. She went on to say that, quote, it's important to me that everything we do is with an equity lens.
It's been really important for the DWP to put an equity lens on everything.
Yes. Yeah. And that's the number one thing that attracted me to this role. It's important to me that everything we do, it's with an equity lens.
The fire.
So it wasn't important for her or anybody else that she could actually do the task. She could actually do the job. She could actually get a fire force worthy of fighting the types of fires that they're going to see in their department in the third or fourth largest city in America, the third or fourth largest fire department in America. You would think that they'd be very well prepared, but that wasn't number one on the priority list. Preparedness was not number one on the priority list for them. Diversity, equity, and inclusion. In fact, in her own words, looking at things through an equity lens was number one. Not rescuing people, not saving lives, not doing the job, but equity.
Chief of LA County, Kristen Crowley, bragged in her fire chief nomination acceptance speech that she would, quote, fully commit to fostering a diverse, equitable, and inclusive culture within the LAFD. In an interview with a local NBC station shortly after assuming the role, she bragged about her 3-year strategic plan to increase diversity in the firefighting force, saying that no amount of diversity is ever enough.
She took time out of her already busy schedule to tell us about her vision for the department's future, one that includes a 3-year strategic plan to increase diversity.
People ask me, well, what number are you looking for? I say, I'm not looking for a number. It's never enough.
The sad truth is that if Los Angeles had focused more on finding qualified people to manage their forests and water, and less on DEI and climate hysteria, many Californians would still have their homes and their lives today.
Facts. Unfortunately, LA, California, the progressive liberal wing of the Democrat Party, the far left wing of the Democrat Party is what runs California. And we see this as an example of how their policies sound great. It sounds great to let things just flow in their natural habitat. It sounds great to not displace any animals. It sounds great to not burn trees for lumber. That is until a wildfire breaks out and you haven't done the necessary things to prepare. And now all that excess brush causes the fires to spread faster and uncontrollably. It sounds great to protect the smelt fish. That is until you run out of water when you have to fight a fire. It sounds great to focus on DEI. That is until you have people who need to be carried out of a fire, and you have members of the fire department who look at you like you're the bad guy, you were the one in the wrong, because they have to now carry you out of a fire.
Knowing that somebody might understand their situation better. Is she strong enough to do this? Or you couldn't carry my husband out of a fire, which my response is he got himself in the wrong place if I have to carry him out of a fire.
That's what happens when we focus on DEI instead of focusing on merit. Let people get there by merit. If they're gay, if they're women, if they're straight, white, male, Christian, black, doesn't matter. If they have the merit and they qualify and they got the heart and they can do the job, then they should be considered for the position. Not given the position, but considered for the position, because it's about equality, not about equity. That's how it's supposed to be. That's what we all wanted it to be. That's actually what our ancestors fought and died for, was equality, not this nonsense vision of equity and looking at things through the lens of somebody else didn't get an opportunity to run the show, so let them get a chance to run the show. That is a ridiculous way to run a business. This is not the schoolyard. So-and-so didn't get a chance to be the line leader, so let's let her be the line leader. This is not school. That's not how this is working. That's not how any of this works. And obviously, that's not how it works in California either, because doing it that way did not work. At least that's what I think about it. Y'all let me know what you think about this down in the comments. Please like this video, share the video, and subscribe to the channel. Give me a follow over here on Rumble. Don't forget to follow me on X and on Truth Social. No matter what, remember to stay skeptical, stay informed, and always question the narrative. And assuming nothing's changed in the last few minutes, and I can still call y'all ladies and gentlemen, I'll catch you on the next one.